Welcome to Beyond the Press Release vacation version with me in California and Jay somewhere in Chicago. We're here to talk about the company's latest press release. If you don't know him and who he is, this is Jay Hutton, CEO of VSBLTY Groupe Technologies, trades on the CSE under VSBY, and for our friends in the US, VSBGF, and for our friends in Europe on Frankfurt under 5VS. For those of you who are new to the story, you're going to be excited because you might have seen the headline, so you're going to be excited to hear this. This is what you need to know. VSBLTY is the world leader. We don't say that lightly. In proactive digital display. What does that mean? They take traditional static digital displays and/or cameras that we've already seen in stores, arenas, and stadiums. They add on their artificial intelligence, their machine learning, and by the way, I'm saying that very, very basically. That's what they do to create real-time advertising and security solutions, the likes of which have never been seen. And you think we're just using, big words there? Listen to this. They're already working with Intel and Taiwan-based Ability Enterprise to develop intelligent cameras for smart city applications. Johnson Controls Sensormatic Solutions. They're bringing a new level of insights to help retailers make better business decisions. Embera, the world's #1 commercial refrigerator manufacturer. They're going to take those static refrigerator windows and turn them into active displays for both security and marketing, and other partnerships with Radar USA, Rapid SOS. We won't go in them, but the big one is their major deal with Grupo Modelo, which is part of the AB InBev family of companies, Anheuser-Busch, to install and manage an international in-store media network of up to 50,000 Modelorama stores throughout Mexico, across Latin America by the end of 2024. Jay, the big press release today, welcome back. Bookings exceed $4 million US on the quarter, while billing shows strong quarter-over-quarter growth and successful financing. Welcome back. Congratulations, Jay.
Thank you, George. And just to be clear for you and for the audience, you may be on vacation, but I'm not on vacation in Chicago.
But we're on the move. We're on the move.
Yes. We're entering into our post-COVID world, I think, George.
Yeah, and when this is over, I want to touch a little bit about where you are and why you're in Chicago.
Sure.
Because that's going to be interesting as well. But here's what I want to find out. You put out you filed your Q2 and subsequently released this corporate update emphasizing bookings. And I'm excerpt from the quote: the company booked a total of $4.1 million US in new contracts. Our total contract value grew exponentially quarter over quarter and is evidence of deployment momentum. What's the importance of bookings, Jay? Because that isn't necessarily the way we hear revenue. So what's the importance of bookings that shareholders should know?
Any company engaged in software as a service as the business model speaks in terms of bookings and billings. Bookings is a leading indicator. It is the aggregate amount of contracts signed in the quarter. If you sign a 3-year deal worth $1 million a year, that's a $3 million total contract value, TCV. And bookings is precisely that. And then as those networks get deployed, it pivots from bookings to billings and then gets recognized. And the way software as a service is, if you sign a $1 million deal for 1 year, you can recognize 1/12 of that revenue per month to get to the end of that 12-month run. That's the way software as a service is booked and billed. And for us, we speak in terms of backlog and total contract value when we speak of the bookings piece of that business. But I think the important thing is for investors is that a company that's not building that bookings base on a regular basis is actually, that's a demonstration of weakness over time. For sure. Where conversely, a company that's building that bookings base is indicating that's a future indicator, right? That shows you where this is going, right?
Yeah, if you've got the bookings, the billings are going to come. So if you've made a contract with Gorcom for $5 million over 5 years, that's the booking, and then you're going to be booking $1 million a year, billing $1 million a year.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So this $4.1 million, was it better than expected? How happy are you guys with this number? Because it is new contracts.
It's considerably better than expected. And the challenge and expectation now as we follow up Q3 and Q4 with continual growth in that category. Well, it pulls the billings with it, if you know what I mean by that. So the billings will also climb on a month-over-month and a quarter-over-quarter basis. We're delighted with it.
Where the bookings come from? Is it all coming from the AB InBev deal, or is it coming from new sources? Because you got so much going on at the company.
Certainly the largest component of that bookings is coming from the deployments that are occurring in Latin America at the moment and the contracts supporting those deployments. But it's spread probably around 15 different customers at the moment. And of course, that number, in terms of the net number of customers you have, that number will also grow.
You have an interesting ratio that you use in the press release. I found this interesting. This Q2 contract value, so this is from the billing section, when compared against our Q2 billings, gives us a strong ratio of 14:1.
Right.
Why is that ratio important?
It's a bookings to billings ratio, and it's not commonly used by, maybe a retail investor, but institutional investors look at that all the time. A 2x book to bill ratio is considered to be quite good. More than that is much better. 12 to 14x is ridiculously good. So that's the metric that we wanted to get in there because people follow that, especially sort of sophisticated investors that look at multiple metrics, not just revenue, right?
Yeah, and that's the first time I've seen that myself. That's why I didn't know. Okay, how good is that? So you're saying anything over 2:1 is really strong. 12 to 14:1 is incredibly strong.
Right, because it shows the pent up momentum, right? It shows the sort of how the spring is recoiling and how much it's recoiling. So if you're speaking about a quarter that's got a certain amount of billings revenue and that the bookings is eclipsing that by 7, 8, 10, 12 times, that's a strong indicator.
And something people may not realize at home, but what's even stronger about this number is what a lot of people don't know. I'm going to read an excerpt specifically to address this. While we had a stronger Q2 billings quarter, we have not been immune to the global supply chain challenges related to the supply of silicon and processors. Our relationship with Intel has allowed us to expedite orders and give us confidence in our supply chain. It's amazing that you guys the strength of your relationship with Intel means that you guys didn't have a negative impact that a lot of other companies are facing around the world as a result of the supply problem.
We've not only not faced that impact, sorry for the double negative, but we don't expect to face that impact, the impact of global supply going forward, which is really kind of
unbelievable,
remarkable. Like we're not looking for the 17 million processors that General Motors is looking for. Our numbers are smaller. We need 5,000 processors, for example, to get to the goal line of the objective for this year for the Latin American project. So it's not, these numbers are not as big as some of their largest customers. So it's comparatively easy for them to jump us in the queue. And we, because of that relationship, which has gone right to the top of Intel, we've been able to find sources of materials in places where others have been unable to find sources of material.
And that's what I want to really emphasize and point out, because there are a lot of small cap companies that have a partnership or a relationship. We've got a relationship with Georgecom, but a lot of times it's just a very indirect and off to the side, but it just looks like a good name to have in a press release. But here's an example of there's a global supply chain issue related to silicon and processors, and your relationship with Intel is so strong that you were able to get around this. So should that provide even greater confidence to shareholders as, wow, our partnerships are rock solid. We're not just we're not just at the little kids table.
I think it should. And as we advance through the end of this year, there will be commercial engagements with Intel, which will really highlight the depth of the partnership. And I know I've been talking about this for a while, but we're excited about, and this is just one characteristic of that relationship, but we're making it more formal. We're going to be making it more public. And I think that this is an important piece strategically for visibility as we execute on our plans.
The big elephant in the room, obviously you kind of alluded to it earlier, is the big Grupo Modelo deal.
Yeah.
And aiming to have 50,000, aiming to have 50,000 stores done by December 2024. But before you can get to December 2024, the start is everything. And you've got a quote here where you're saying the pace of installations in Latin America heading into Q3 is increasing with significant deployments in 4
Yeah.
countries.
Yeah.
You're expecting to have 5,000 stores in Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador by the end of 2021. How important is getting that first 5,000 done for both this joint venture to make sure it's successful? Because you've always talked about execution. And how confident are you now as we're heading into, the latter part of the year, that you're going to be able to get that number done?
Well, there's 2 key metrics that drive that 5,000 number. The first is, can we actually do the physical work necessary to deploy in stores? And I want to remind you of a relationship we announced a couple months ago with Tech Mahindra. Tech Mahindra is a very large systems integrator based out of India, but with people in the region itself, physical, people doing work in each of the major countries. We're active and deployed in Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, and Mexico right now. And those deployments are being done by Tech Mahindra field crews. So one of the biggest logistical challenges is to be able to get those crews working in a way that gets us to the finish line. So that's one. I have increasing confidence in that. We took Tech Mahindra about 60 days to on-ramp, but now that they're on-ramped, we can see the deployment pace just accelerating. So that's critical. We've satisfied the supply chain issue, knowing now that when we have to deploy into the stores, we'll have the equipment to deploy in the store. So that's item 2. And then item 3 is actually getting large CPGs, advertisers, to commit to buying the network. And that's happening now too. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing, because that's what generates your revenue. We have a 33% ownership position in the joint venture that's building this network. And while we have license revenue outside of the joint venture, as we've talked about before, George, the real win here, the couple $100 million opportunity on an annual basis, is getting that media sold. And for me, that's perhaps the most important KPI. We're enjoying our license revenue, but the really kind of knock it out of the park opportunity here is 33% of 200 million when we get to run rate is $66 million a year. So that's a noteworthy and important milestone for a small company.
And I know you never take your foot off the gas, ever, not until you get to that 50,000 by 2024. But as the CEO and as a shareholder of the company, are you starting to feel a lot more confident in the execution side, and that you're going to get the installations, you're going to get the media buys, and you're going to get this thing, you're going to get this thing growing to the finish line for December 2024?
Yeah, I'm extremely confident. But for me, just the way my brain works, and this has nothing to do with sort of trying to extract the negative out of this. I'm not negative about it at all. I'm extremely positive. So the focus right now is on execution and optimization. It's not about can we do this? It's not about will people buy a network that we're building? All that's sort of put to bed. And you'll see additional deals in the future that we'll be disclosing, which will help everyone understand why I feel that confidence. But we're extremely excited about it. And the attention of the world, not the world, not CNN, not Fox News,
Yeah, of course.
but our world is very excited about this deal. And it is generating opportunities for us that we had never conceived of before. So I'm excited about that. But we have to be sure that we don't bite off more than we can chew, because that can kill a company. So our focus is on execution. Our largest deployments are the most important deployments to us. And the deal in Latin America is supported and complemented by other deals that are similar in size, but we're making sure that we perfect the capability. We identify partners that can help us scale, like Tech Mahindra, and there's more coming. And I think that's the recipe, right? You have to make sure that every component of the delivery model is satisfied by an expert in the category. We're the software company. We're the media company. We do both of those things pretty well, but we're not a company that hires guys to go install in stores. So we're doing that intelligently, I believe, with some of the biggest players in the world and satisfying the concerns around scale.
That's why I had my question broken out to two. How important is this first 5,000 to the joint venture, the Winkle joint venture, I think you're referring it, but also to secure future business, because you have an excerpt there that says, and you've touched on it, as we roll out this network, we're discussing similar opportunities throughout the world. So these first 5,000 are really have massive implications if you do it well, and massive implications if you don't pull it off. But it sounds like you're really confident there. But talk to us about, you've touched on it there, the discussions of similar opportunities throughout the world. I know you can't be specific, but you know, big players, different parts of the world look for the same kind of joint venture or same kind of product.
Yeah, I guess the best way to answer that, George, is the places where the attention is coming from is large diversified retailers, as you can imagine, who are now discovering, oh my gosh, my physical bricks and mortar now has advertising value. So how do I pivot to take advantage of that? Well, I'm not going to try and put all these various pieces together myself. I'm a retailer, but I'm going to look for people that have put those together already. So that's one lane. The other lane, and this is perhaps a little bit more sort of inside football, if you know what I mean, but the other lane is these very large creative agencies, Publicis, WPP, D&B, the largest in the world, are concerned that their customers, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, will be buying these networks directly and therefore disintermediating the creative agency, removing them from the supply chain, and they won't let that happen because it's an extermination event if they do. So as this media becomes valuable, you could imagine that intelligent strategic relationships with some of these very large media agencies would naturally evolve because they want to rep the network.
And you'd prefer to have that, by the way, because it's
De-risks
easier to
it
have
for us.
yeah, right. You got the agencies, let that, because in the day you're a software company. You're not, you know, and you'd rather have them handle the relationships with P&G and Johnson Johnson, like that,
Well,
names like that, and not have to.
They already have relationships with these guys. And you know, in some cases, it's an $800-900 billion annually an annual relationship. So and today about 2 to 3% of media budgets are fulfilled through store purchase, like buying store display.
That's going to ramp up. That's going to ramp up, right? Because up to now it's just been static, boring displays.
And
now you guys are taking it to the next level.
And it doesn't even have to ramp up much for that number to be crazy meaningful. So we're talking about something that is early days, and we've got the largest reference configuration in the marketplace. It's up to us to do it well. When we do it well, not if we do it well, but when we do it well, and while we're doing it well, as we execute, there'll be more and more attention on this model. So we're excited about that, and we're prepared to sing from the rooftops when we start to hit the KPIs that we expect to.
And that's why you're able to say not just words, but your world, your entire world is watching this, because if and when it's done well and deployed and installed, then it's game on at that point. And I don't think anyone's going to sit around waiting to get picked off. They're going to be picking up the phone and saying, okay, we got the relationship. Don't cut us out. We'll bring them, but let's get a deal done. Let's get some deals done.
I'm here at Retail X in Chicago, which is a retail trade show. All the major brands are here. And we were invited to be part of WestRock's, I don't know, maybe a 10,000 square foot booth, telling our store as media story. So my job here is to continue to tell, you know, the evangelical store, a store as media, tell our AB InBev story, tell the story of how we're doing and what we're doing and why we're doing it to the US market, to the brands here in the US. So already this is beginning to have that sort of spread effect of what's happening in Latin America now being reflected in the US marketplace. And what's happening is people come with the knowledge of, we know the store is evolving into a media channel. Tell us how you, Visibility, and in this case, WestRock, who are the largest display company in the world and a long-term partner of ours, how you guys can help us execute a strategy in our store. So it's very fascinating how it's sort of rapidly picking up momentum.
It may be too early, but I'm going to ask. It may be too early because you're just there now. But what kind of early response, if any, are you getting? Is it too early to ask you, the response that you're getting from companies and people coming to the exhibit, as when you tell them about Visibility and its solutions and services? Are they blown away, or?
Yeah, I think for the most part, the response is, if I could aggregate the response,
Sure.
It's something like, finally, somebody has put the pieces together. There's a media piece, George, there's a placement piece, there's electrical wiring, there's the internet, there's the various display physical form factors, there's all these moving parts. And we as I'm speaking on behalf of the brand, we always knew it was a valuable channel, but it's just so much work to put these pieces together. With any one of them could constitute failure, anyone not executing perfectly. But WestRock, Sensormatic, Intel, these big players are now aligned with Visibility, and together we're putting those pieces in place. And I think that's what's really important. And maybe it's a subtle observation, but that's, I think, the most important piece. I've had brands, I can't name the brands, but they've come to us and they've said, we've tried to do this by putting our own people in project management and procurement and software. It's just too difficult. And we know it's valuable. And now that we know it's valuable, we're now shopping for ways to do this economically and efficiently.
Are we now, the last question for you,
Yeah.
we now in that paradigm shift? Are we at that inflection point, not just for Visibility, but for the store as the media center now? Is there any doubt, or is it fait accompli? It's on its way, and over the next 12, 24, 36 months, we're all going to start walking into stores and start seeing these things and being amazed by them.
Fait accompli. There's no doubt that this will happen. It's happening now. It'll happen in 4 channels of retail initially, and then beyond that. So the channels of retail that are taking after this model, going after this model aggressively, are convenience store. Modelorama in Mexico is a convenience store deployment, right? Grocery is attractive because it has 75,000 unique SKUs in grocery, and those are all advertisers. DIY, surprisingly, DIY is up 140% year over year. I'm talking about Lowe's, Home Depot, in Canada, Canadian Tire. Okay. That's the DIY. And then the last is drug. Drug is a really kind of a sleeper channel because inside drug are a lot of brands that are nowhere else. So those brands have very limited locations that they can drive at point of sale impression advertising, which is what we are. 80% of us are influenceable at the point of sale. 70% of us buy something we had not intended to buy. So there's all these mechanics are now working to, if you can create an environment where you've got an interactive surface that engages and creates an intimate engagement with a customer, that's going to create sales velocity. It's as simple as that. It's no longer guesswork.
And the great part, we'll end up this, is if you're just doing it on your own, then you might be susceptible to all the risks that some of these major brands have already told you they try to do it on their own. But you've got the best possible partnership circle you could have here to get this done.
George, we've done it on our own, and it's painful. The first 3 years of the company's business, we did it on our own because we had not yet established the major channel partners that we have. And this, for many reasons, is one of the reasons why we are focused on these large channels. Now, they take sometimes forever to land as partners But
Sure.
when they're landed, the ability for them to scale to inflection is something we could never do ourselves. So that's why we think it's important, and that's why we believe that we've made the right strategic moves, selected the right partners. We're patient as we built out those channel relationships. Now they're incredibly loyal.
Jay, congratulations on the bookings
Thank you,
for
George.
Q2. Fantastic job, because I think I've had a sense more than most of how big of an endeavor this is, and it's mind-boggling to me. And I know how mind-boggling it's been to you, but for you guys to put it all together, pulled it off, and now in that execution stage for these 5,000, while you're talking to other companies about
Yeah,
similar,
right.
while you're at the expo in Chicago, it's fun to watch. It's amazing to watch, and I can't wait to have you back. From the looks of what you've been saying earlier in this interview, it sounds like we're going to have you back quite a bit. It may be August for most people, and guys like me are taking a little vacation time, but it sounds like Jay and the visibility team are doing anything but taking time off.
Yeah.
So can't wait to have you back, my man.
It's a fun journey. Thank you for having me on, George.
Thanks, Jay. As always, congratulate the team. I think I speak on behalf of all shareholders when I say this exciting. Can't wait to see what's next.
Great.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform, to Jay Hutton, the CEO of VSBLTY Groupe Technologies, trades on the CSE under VSBY. For our friends in the US, VSBGF, and of course for our great shareholders in Europe on Frankfurt under 5VS. For those of you new to the story and want to do some due diligence, because this is cutting edge stuff that you've only seen in the movies up until now, 2 ways to get your due diligence done. Get to the company's profile page on the Agoracom. What we try and do there is give you a good, great, not just good, but a great 10,000 foot view of the company and what it's doing, all these pieces to help you understand it from a layman's point of view. And then you can see it right above Jay, or you can get there from Agoracom. Get to VSBLTY.net. For those who are listening on Spotify, VSBLTY, VSBLTY.net to do your deep dive due diligence. Just don't say we didn't tell you so. 12 months from now, have a great day. See you next time.
Thank you.
Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and then leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel so you don't ever miss another great Agoracom small cap video.